When I first moved into Maplewood Estates, I thought I'd found the perfect neighborhood. Quiet streets, friendly smiles, and tidy lawns that all looked like they were cut from the same magazine. But it didn't take long to learn that the perfection came with a price tag. An HOA led by the infamous Karen Mitchell. Karen wasn't just the president. She was the self-proclaimed guardian of aesthetic. Order, her short blonde bob and oversized. Sunglasses made her look like she was auditioning for a reality show called Lawns and Lies. I wasn't one for fancy landscaping. I liked things natural. So instead of expensive turf or decorative stones, I turned a small corner of my front yard into a vegetable garden. Tomatoes, peppers, carrots, and some basil. It was neat, clean, and honestly beautiful in its own way. Neighbors would stop by and compliment me, asking for gardening tips. For a few weeks, everything was peaceful. Then came the letter. A thick cream-colored envelope stamped with Maplewood Homeowners Association. Inside was a notice saying I was in violation of community rules for unauthorized agricultural use of front lawn. The fine, $500. I thought it was a joke. I laughed and tossed the paper aside. But Karen didn't think it was funny. The next day she was at my door. Clipboard in hand, her lips pressed so tight they nearly disappeared. "Mr. Daniels," she began, "our HOA guidelines clearly prohibit front yard farming. It ruins the visual harmony of the neighborhood." I tried to reason with her. "Karen, it's just a small vegetable patch. I'm not running a business." Her eyes narrowed. "Not yet, but that's how these things start." That night, as I stood watering my tomatoes, her words echoed in my head. That's how these things start. So I made a decision. If Karen thought my little garden looked like a business, maybe I should actually make it one. The next morning, I posted a wooden sign by the curb. "Daniel's Fresh Garden Vegetables for Sale." By noon, 3 neighbors had stopped by to buy fresh produce. The smiles on their faces made it worth it. I knew this would make Karen furious, but honestly, that was half the fun. As the sun set, I saw her standing at her window, jaw dropped, phone in hand. I couldn't hear her, but I knew what was coming, round 2, and I was ready for it. By the next morning, I'd officially become Maplewood Estates' most talked-about resident. My little farm stand, just a wooden table, a hand-painted sign, and some baskets of vegetables had turned into the neighborhood's favorite new attraction. Kids came by to grab cherry tomatoes, and older folks loved chatting while picking up cucumbers for dinner. Everyone was smiling, everyone except Karen. At precisely 8 a.m., she marched up my driveway in her perfectly ironed khaki pants and HOA, badge clipped to her shirt like she was on duty. "Mr. Daniels," she snapped, "you're operating a commercial business on residential property. This is a serious violation." I leaned on the table casually. "Karen, I'm just sharing what I grow. People happen to leave a few dollars. It's community spirit." She looked like she'd bitten into a lemon. "This is not a farmer's market. Mr. Daniels, this is a neighborhood, and your little operation is attracting traffic." As if on cue, Mrs. Wilkins from next door walked up holding her reusable grocery bag. "Morning, Karen. I just came to buy some fresh lettuce. Isn't this wonderful?" Karen's expression froze. "It's against the rules," she hissed. Mrs. Wilkins frowned. "Well, maybe the rules need updating. We like this." That moment was priceless. I could almost see the steam coming out of Karen's ears. She stormed off, muttering something about escalating to the board. That evening, a new letter appeared in my mailbox. This time, not just a fine. It was a cease and desist order. Karen had called an emergency HOA meeting to address the ongoing defiance of community standards. I decided to attend. When I walked into the clubhouse, every seat was full. Karen sat at the front like a queen on her throne, surrounded by her loyal board members. She began, "Mr. Daniels is intentionally violating our bylaws and disturbing the neighborhood with his so-called farm stand." But before she could continue, voices rose from the crowd. "He's helping people," one neighbor shouted. "The produce is fresh and cheap," said another. Even old Mr. Harper from 3 streets over added, "It's better than that overpriced grocery store." Karen's face went redder than my ripe tomatoes. She slammed her folder shut. "The board will deliberate and issue a ruling." I just smiled. Because for the first time, it wasn't me versus Karen. It was Karen versus everyone else. Still, I had a feeling she wasn't done yet. Karen wasn't the type to lose quietly. For a few days, things went quiet, too quiet. The HOA hadn't sent another notice, and even Karen's usual patrols stopped. I started to think maybe she'd finally realized how ridiculous this all was. My farm stand was doing better than ever. People came from nearby neighborhoods just to buy homegrown produce. Kids loved the little honor jar system, and I even started giving away baskets to local families in need. But calm in Maplewood Estates never lasted long when Karen was involved. One Friday morning, I woke up to flashing lights outside my house. 2 city code enforcement officers stood in my yard, measuring tape in hand, with Karen right behind them holding a clipboard and a smug smile. "Mr. Daniels," one of the officers said politely, "we've received reports that you're operating a business without a permit and obstructing pedestrian access." I crossed my arms. "Reports, huh? From who?" Karen cleared her throat dramatically. "Several concerned residents," she said, pretending to look through her notes. I almost laughed. "You mean you?" The officer tried not to smile. "We'll just need to verify compliance, sir." After a few awkward minutes of measuring and photo-taking, they realized everything was completely legal. My stand was small off the sidewalk and not blocking anything. Karen looked like she might explode. But he's selling food! You can't just—" "Ma'am," the officer interrupted, "there's no violation here. Have a good day." And just like that, they left. Karen stood frozen for a moment, her mouth opening and closing like a confused fish, then spun on her heel and stomped away. That weekend, my stand got busier than ever. Neighbors told the story to their friends, and soon, people I didn't even know were stopping by. It wasn't about money, it was about community. To celebrate, I added a new sign. Locally grown, HOA approved, sort of. That sign went viral on social media after someone posted a photo of it. Within days, I had news reporters reaching out and cars slowing down just to snap pictures. My once quiet street turned into a mini landmark. And of course, Karen hated every second of it. She sent another letter claiming I was bringing negative attention to Maplewood Estates. But this time I wasn't alone. Over 30 neighbors signed a petition supporting me. Karen's power was slipping, and she knew it. But I also knew her well enough to expect one final, desperate move. Karen's final move came one sunny Saturday morning, and it was her boldest yet. I was setting out, baskets of fresh zucchini and herbs, when a delivery truck pulled up. 2 men in reflective vests stepped out, carrying wooden stakes and bright orange signs that read, "Notice of violation, unauthorized structure." Behind them, Karen strutted down the sidewalk with her clipboard, wearing a grin that could curdle milk. "Mr. Daniels," she said, almost singing the words, "your farm stand is now officially condemned under city code. You'll need to dismantle it immediately." I blinked, stunned. "Condemned? It's a table with vegetables," she smirked. "Rules are rules." I wasn't angry this time, just calm, because while she was busy plotting, I'd been busy too. I walked over to my mailbox, pulled out a folder, and handed her a stack of papers. "Funny thing," I said. "I spoke with the city last week. Turns out, I filed for a temporary agricultural permit, and it's been approved." Her smile vanished. The delivery guys paused, confused. "Ma'am," one said, "this permit's valid. We can't post the violation." Karen's face went crimson. "That's impossible!" I shrugged. "It's public record. You can check." The workers packed up and left, and for the first time, Karen didn't have a single word to say. She just stood there shaking with fury. Before storming off toward her SUV and speeding away, word spread fast. Neighbors came over cheering and laughing. Mrs. Wilkins brought cookies, and the local news showed up later that afternoon for an interview. My little stand was now a symbol of standing up to petty rules and bullies in power. Within a month, the HOA board voted to remove Karen as president. The motion passed almost unanimously. She moved out soon after, her house sitting dark and empty for weeks. As for me, my front yard turned into something even better, a full community garden. Everyone in Maplewood Estates could grow whatever they wanted. No permission slips or fines required. Tomatoes, sunflowers, strawberries, every house had something green. One evening, as the sun dipped below the rooftops, I looked at the thriving garden and smiled. The same yard that once got me fined was now feeding the whole neighborhood. Karen wanted uniform lawns. I gave them unity instead, and as the wind rustled through rows of tall corn and basil, I couldn't help but laugh. Because in the end, the best revenge wasn't a fine or a fight. It was growth.